Hey guys, Mila the Hangry Woman here, and today I am doing a video that you have asked me for over and over and over, but it had to wait because it needed time. And so today I am finally doing this video that is my experience 2 months after I've gotten fully off of Ozempic and Trulicity. If you're new here, I'm Mila. I make videos for people with diabetes so that we can feel less shame, less judgment, less confusion around our illness. I myself live with latent autoimmune diabetes in adults, which is a slow progressing form of type 1 diabetes. I have lots of videos on my channel about it if you have ever heard of LADA or if you don't really know what LADA is. So it's a really interesting phase to be in my diabetes management, not quite autoimmune diabetes, but also not quite insulin resistant diabetes, a little bit different of a mix and lots of figuring out. That's where Ozempic and Trulicity came in for me. But if you like videos that highlight what life with diabetes is like or answer some questions about experiences that you may encounter, follow this everything. So follow my Instagram, follow my website at hangrywoman.com. I'm the Hangry Woman all over the internet. And then also be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. And with that, let's get to it. I want to really just detail what has happened in these past couple of months since I got off of Ozempic. As some of you know, I have videos detailing my entire journey on Ozempic. So I took it for about 10 months. I ended up kind of doing videos at, I think, the 2-month mark, 6 months, and then again later at the 10-month mark when I decided it was no longer for me and it was just something that I could not handle. And so to go back a little bit, rewind, the reason that I got off of Ozempic in the first place was because I was experiencing heart palpitations. And I actually didn't experience them at first on the very lowest dose of Ozempic. I started out on the 0.25 dose, which is just to get you used to it, went up to 0.5, didn't do well on 0.5, so went back down to 0.25, then again went back up to 0.5, just back and forth. And as I kind of got settled into the 0.5 dose, which is still the very lowest dose that's therapeutically available for you to take, I started to have heart palpitations, shortness of breath, chest pains. I couldn't sleep through the night, and it really felt to me like it was correlated with my Ozempic. And when I had had a doctor's visit where I had kind of an overall physical, my primary care doctor said, hey, we did an EKG for you, and it looks like you have mild sinus tachycardia. Do you know what this could be from or why? Because they had already had me on kind of preventative cholesterol medication and things like that. And so I was I really don't know. I am pretty stressed out, but I don't know. I don't think that it would be causing tachycardia. That seems pretty serious. And so I had a heart ultrasound. I did all this stuff and nothing came back abnormal. Everything was totally normal, totally fine. And so my endo said, well, just keep taking it. And I finally got to a point where I was I can't anymore. I don't want to hop on my Peloton where my heart is already beating at 130 beats per minute and I haven't even started pedaling. I am getting very anxious about the shortness of breath. I'm starting to have these random chest pains and it just doesn't feel good and I don't want to do it. And so I had the conversation over and over and over with my doctor for months before he finally said, okay, let's try something else, which he moved me on to Trulicity. That ended up being even worse for me in terms of heart palpitations. And so I lasted maybe 2 injections on that. And then I was completely finished. And I was I don't want to do this anymore. Just put me on insulin, please. That, put me on mealtime insulin. That's what's gonna be best for me. And so that's the path that I'm on right now. So no GLP-1s like Ozempic or Trulicity. I'm taking insulin full time. So I'm taking a basal insulin called Tresiba, and that lasts 24 hours in my body. And it just is kind of the basal rate of insulin for me. And then I am also taking a fast-acting insulin called Lumiev, and it is just what I take at mealtime. So I carb count, bolus for my meals, or I can go back and do sliding scale corrections. And so right now that's working really well for me. My numbers are very well controlled in that sense, but there are lots of things that I'm sure you're wondering, okay, well, if you got off of Ozempic, did you gain all the weight back? Did you Did the heart palpitations go away? Did the nausea go away? Did all of these things kind of subside? And the answers to that are all different. And so I'll walk through them. And I think the first question on everybody's mind is always weight loss. Did I keep the weight loss going? Did I keep it off, or did I gain it all back? I actually ended up losing more weight off of Ozempic, which I was truly surprised about. I stopped Ozempic in the middle of September, and from that point until right now, it's almost the last day of November, I've lost another 15 pounds. So it's been pretty good. I haven't needed Ozempic to continue the weight loss, and unlike what I suspected, I thought that I was going to just immediately gain all of the weight back because I thought that it was really the medicine that was helping me with the weight loss. But it truly lowered my appetite. And even off of Ozempic, I didn't start to get super hungry again. I didn't get this crazy insatiable appetite like I had once had. And that surprised me also because going on insulin, I thought it's going to make me hungrier. It's going to make me gain weight. That's what happens to everybody going on insulin. And it actually hasn't. My appetite hasn't been this crazy insatiable appetite. It's actually kind of stayed what it was with Ozempic. And because of the smaller meals that I was eating more frequently and not just having big giant meals all the time for 3 meals a day, I was eating smaller meals because it was helping with the nausea. And so I've kind of continued that pattern. And I think that's also been really helpful because I cannot eat a lot per meal. I really have to structure it into smaller bites, smaller portions. I'm still eating roughly the same amount of calories. I'm tracking and eating about 1,400 to 1,500 a day. And then along with exercise, there's also that deficit. I'm exercising like I was before about 3 to 4 times a week. And so honestly, aside from maybe the timing of the portions, my actual lifestyle hasn't changed all that much, but I'm still seeing the weight loss effects of it. And so, I always say this in my videos, I don't know if you can tell. I know somebody's going to be oh, because total weight loss, from the time that I was on Ozempic until now, this 2-month period after is about 45 pounds. And so I know people are going to be that's not a lot for a year. It happens in every single video I make. There's always somebody in the comment section who says it, who says I'm eating Big Macs, who says it doesn't make sense that she's not losing the weight that I think she should lose because of X, Y, and Z thing that I have in my subconscious. And the thing is that every body is different. Some people don't even lose weight on Ozempic. Some people are just able to manage their blood sugars. Some people lose an intense amount of weight on Ozempic. Some people, don't have the appetite suppression. Some people don't have any of the side effects. It affects everybody so differently that I'm just sharing my experience because it's not going to be the universal experience, but I think it's important to see just what people go through. And when we talk about it and we put it out there, it kind of gives people an idea of possibly what to expect with a grain of salt. And so I think that's really important and why I share these videos. But I think in terms of the weight loss aspect, I am still losing, I'm not gaining. And that is actually very surprising, especially being on insulin, because it's really easy to gain weight on insulin. I wouldn't say that I'm limiting my carbs at all because now that I'm taking insulin, I just correct for what I need. So I'm probably right now eating about 40 grams of carbs or less per meal. That's a little higher than where I was before. Before I was eating 20 to 30. Now I've allowed myself a little bit more because I have the ability to correct. That doesn't mean necessarily more calories for me. It just means more carbohydrates and adjusting my insulin doses at that point. So I think that's also really important to recognize. I feel like I've gotten a lot happier in this process because I don't feel like I am using food restriction as a tool to manage my blood sugars as much anymore. And I feel like I was doing that a lot before, and that was very hard for me coming from a place where I have had disordered eating and I have kind of lived that life of counting every little thing. And I still have to count it. I still have to understand how many carbs I'm eating. But with the correction factor and the ability to adjust, I feel like it's a lot healthier of a relationship with food. I am getting to know my food a lot better. I am, able to kind of like look at something and be like, here's the carb count for that. Here's how much insulin I need to take for it. So I think that has changed the way I'm eating in a healthier way, instead of me feeling like I have to restrict food, not eat to make sure that my blood sugars are in line, eat the tiniest little portions and not enjoy my food at all, like things like that. So I am very happy with that switch. I'm very happy that like the weight loss has continued and I don't feel like I'm being deprived. That's one thing that I think has changed my quality of life a lot in these past 2 months, and it's just made me overall a happier person. As far as side effects, practically as soon as I stopped taking Ozempic and Trulicity, my heart rate was the biggest thing. Like I had gotten over the nausea, I had gotten over like the diarrhea and stomach issues and all of that stuff. But the one thing that just kept happening to me was the heart palpitations. And literally like within the week that I quit each one of them, like I quit Ozempic and then I took Trulicity in place of it the next week. And then I did another injection of Trulicity. And then I just couldn't take it anymore. So I stopped after that. And probably like within the 2 weeks that I stopped taking it, the heart palpitations were gone. My heart rate went from being like 120, sometimes 130 at resting. So like if I was sitting here and had my Apple Watch on and I had been taking it, my heart rate would have been 120 or 130 just sitting. It was abysmal. It was like just so bad, and just it felt awful. Like every day I felt like I was going to die, to be quite honest. Like I felt like my heart was just going to like jump out of my chest and I didn't know what to do. Like it was bad. I don't know if anybody has ever else had that situation, but it was just not a good time for me. And so I finally said like, not doing it anymore. Within that 2 weeks, my heart rate had lowered to like the lower 70s. And so resting, my heart rate is usually like anywhere from 75 to 80 beats per minute, which is absolutely normal. And I don't have those heart palpitations. I don't wake up sweating in the middle of the night. I don't wake up with shortness of breath. I'm able to sleep all the way through the night. I can exercise without being winded, or, like just the things that I think for like a 30-something-year-old person are very normal. I feel like my body has gotten way back to normal, which is helpful to me. And I feel like that's something that is just good overall. Like I actually feel good, and I don't know, I'm not like in pain or not feeling like tired or like it's a labor to breathe. Like I actually feel good. So I think that is definitely one thing that had come of that. I think something else that was really important to me in terms of getting off of it was like, would my blood sugars stabilize? And I think because we put insulin in place of Ozempic, my blood sugars still did stay stable. Like I said before, I think they're actually in a better place now because I'm having more control with the insulin and I'm not having nearly as much insulin resistance, which is also really good. Something else that happened earlier in the summer that I want to say I mentioned in a video is that I also got off of birth control. And so I was taking birth control, had an arm implant, just because at the time wasn't ready for kids. My A1C was not in a good place. Diabetes was not in a good place for me to be able to safely be pregnant. And so I got off birth control, and that also I think helped level things out. And I wasn't seeing as much insulin resistance because I wasn't having like the same reactions. And so now my insulin needs are a bit less. Like I was able to decrease them even from when I was on Ozempic. And I also am able to have just steadier blood sugars overall, not as many roller coasters. And so Ozempic helped me in that way as well. I originally had not taken it for weight loss. I had taken it for blood sugar management. It was actually doing a really great job of that. But now that I have kind of adjusted other things in other areas, it seems like things are going a lot better. And like I'm having some steadier, like, it's steadier. Like everything is just better health-wise. And I don't think it's, just like me getting off Ozempic that did that, but it's the very particular adjustments that my care team has made for me to be able to manage blood sugars. And so, as I've said before, if I could go back on Ozempic, I would, to be honest, it is an easy injection. It's once a week. You don't even have to, it's like no frills. You don't have to do anything with it. You have your one injection every single week and you don't have to think about it till the next week. It does a really good job of managing your blood sugars, all of that. But for me personally, it just did not agree with my body. And that is like such a shame because it actually worked. Like when I needed it to work, it worked. But I do feel like the after effects of it and the kind of like, I would say like aftershocks is what I would call it. Like those things for me still made it worth it. Like I still have like a little bit less of an appetite. My blood sugars are still pretty stable and in range. I'm still losing weight. And so, at this point it's out of my system, out of my body. It's been 2 months, more than 2 months. So it's not, a residual effect from the medication. It's just kind of like my body got used to that state that it was in. And now it's still kind of in that state. And so I actually think that that is a good thing and that's okay. And it's helping my blood sugar numbers to stabilize and normalize. It's helping me get to a good goal weight. Although I will say that I'm, after I visited the endo, my last appointment in September where I got off of Ozempic, I was in probably, aside from my A1C, it was a little higher than we wanted it to be, but I was in the best physical health of my life. Cholesterol numbers were fine. Kidney function was fine. Liver function was fine. Everything was good. And so I think that that is really important to also note is that the weight thing for me is truly physical because everything else is okay. Everything else is fine. So I think it's, just something I want to do because I want to do it because I'm on YouTube and people make comments and, in my past and in my history, there's insecurity there about how I look, and it definitely determines how I feel. I know that people are going to leave really nice comments about that because you guys always do, but it's just how I feel. So I think, weight loss is still a goal for me because of that. And it might not be the best reason for it to be a goal for me because otherwise I'm healthy. It's not something that I have to obsess about and not something that I'm trying to obsess about, but it is something that's just on my mind overall. But I also wanted to shed some clarity on the fact that, even taking Ozempic, weight loss wasn't the goal. It was an extra bonus. The blood sugar management was the goal. And I was able to achieve that, but the side effects were just too much for me. And so the weight loss happened to be secondary, but that's the thing that everybody focuses on every single time. And so I have to address it, basically. But overall, like I said, I feel like I would recommend Ozempic to somebody who has those goals in mind. If you're looking for blood sugar stability, if you're looking for potential weight loss, but just be wary that the side effects can be really difficult to deal with, and they are for a lot of people. But yeah, that's it. If there's anything else that you guys want to know, leave it down in the comments below. I'm always happy to make another video about this with comments and questions that you have. It's just interesting to me, I think, at this point, what it had done. And this, it being November would kind of be like the full circle if I would have stayed on it. And so I've basically made about a year of Ozempic videos so that you guys can see what it's like from start to finish. I'm not the typical person who took it. I stayed on pretty much the lowest dose the whole time. I never increased because we were just uncomfortable with what the side effects might look like. Like I stayed on 0.5 most of the time, and we thought about doing an increase to 1 milligram, but at the end of the day, it was just like the heart palpitations were too much on 0.5. And so my endo was like, let's just keep you where you are and see what happens there. So incrementally, my A1C got lower and lower, but I didn't use the medication to its full potential because of the side effects for me personally. So some people don't have that problem. Some people can make it through it and it's really not a big deal. That just wasn't the case for me, unfortunately. So I ended up getting off of it. But I can say that getting off of it, it actually was a good decision for me overall, and it didn't negatively impact my health after getting off of it. So, I didn't have, like I said, huge weight gain swings, or, my blood sugars didn't go haywire and go crazy. It actually got better with tighter control with a different course of treatment. And so those are just the things that I think are super important to really think about as you're deciding what you want to do. The heart palpitations are a known side effect. I didn't know that they were a known side effect when I made my previous videos. When my endo and I talked about it, he didn't know that it was a known side effect. He read the literature. He like tried to find out like the, in the time period that I told him like 6 months ago that I felt like this was happening to me. And so now it's more well known, it's more well established, and, people know that you can potentially get heart palpitations and increased heart rate and sometimes tachycardia with this class of medications. It's just par for the course. If you can take that and you don't feel anxiety about it, then go for it. But if it's something that you may feel like, oh, I don't know, like the symptoms were too physical to me to not feel anxiety. And I just had to say like, peace, like I cannot do it. So, obviously you have to make the decision that's right for you and that's right for yourself, but you can always ask your doctor for all of the information, ask all of the questions that you have, and just understand it fully, understand it through and through, and know that you can always stop taking it if it's not something that ends up working for you. And for me, I didn't have, negative side effects when I stopped it. It actually, I think, kind of made things better. So that's pretty much all that I have for y'all. That's all that I have to say about it. Like I said before, any questions, just leave them down in the comments below. I can either do like an Instagram story with all of the gathered questions, or I can do a quick YouTube video addressing some of the additional questions that y'all have, or a blog post or whatever. So I am always happy to answer questions and happy to hear like what you think and how you feel, and if you've had the same experience. So please also just leave comments down below and let me know how this went for you. If you're in the process of getting off of Ozempic, what that has been like for you, or if you're just watching because you're curious, like if I take this for a long time and then I get off of it, what happens? Hopefully this tells you what can happen. It's not the end all be all experience. I don't think I've seen any other videos on YouTube about what it's like to stop taking these medications, but hopefully if I'm the first, I'm not the last, and other people will talk about their experiences as well, because I think it's really meaningful to be able to hear what other people are going through, even if it's not the exact same thing that you're going through. Okay guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to catch my Ozempic playlist. It has every video from the first few months that I was taking it all the way till now, an entire year later. And I just hope that you guys enjoy. I hope that you get some good information out of it. And I also hope that it is helpful to you in making a decision about what you want to do and what you want to ask your doctor for. At the end of the day, it's always up to you. It's your health. It's your body, it's your medications, it's what you want to do. So it's important to be as informed as you possibly can be, so you can ask all the questions and you can be comfortable with whatever decision that you make. Thanks for taking the time to watch, y'all, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.